Good morning, everyone. This is Curtis Hawks, CMO over here at Insurance Agency Marketing Services. And I want to thank everybody for taking some time out of their day today to be with us. And we've got a very good topic today. We have one of the top advisors out there who is on the call with us today, and he's going to, kind of pull back the curtain a little bit and talk about different things that he incorporates into his practice and different adjustments, modifications, et cetera, that he's incorporated here over the last year and a half to just have an absolutely significant amount of success. And so we're really pleased to have him on here. Before we get into the main event, I did want to take a couple of minutes to talk about some of the additional ways that IAMS is here to partner with you on your business and help support it. One of those is our new producer builders. And this program is if you're not currently working with us, this is a great way for us to meet you where you're at and help you to get to where you want to be. And you can see up here, we've got a variety of different tier levels. And there's a variety of different ways that we can partner with you as you're producing business with us initially, whether it's marketing, whether it's trips, whether it's just additional cash coming out to you. And so one of the things I would encourage you to do is if you've got questions on that, reach out, talk to one of our sales directors over here. The phone number is 800-255-5055, and they can certainly answer any of the questions that you have. The other thing that I would mention to you as well is kind of one of the core pillars of IAMS is customization of services. And so if you're doing something that's working well for you right now, reach out and talk to a sales director as well, and we can talk to you about how we can customize this specifically for your business. In addition to that, we've got our referred producer program. For those of you that are working with us that maybe you know somebody who isn't quite happy where they're at, or you think maybe something that we're doing might be a fit for them, send them our way. Not only will you get a $50 bonus when that agent gets contracted, you'll get an additional $100 bonus when they place their first piece of business. And then on an ongoing basis, as you can see, you'll continue to receive revenue based off of their production. You don't have to do anything. We'll take care of all the service. We'll help that advisor, and it's additional revenue going back into your company. In addition to that, we've got our marketing reimbursement program. As you can see here, you accrue an additional $100 for every $100,000 of qualifying index annuity premium. And on the life insurance side, $200 for every $100,000 of single premium life business and $200 for every $10,000 of target life premium. In addition to that, our back office support. And, I really think the last year and a half has really put a spotlight on that, as we've had insurance carriers where they've had staff go remote. We've seen, carriers have bottlenecks. I think it's really put a highlight on having a good team of people at your IMO who are working to help support your business and then get your business pushed through with the carriers. And so I would encourage you, if you haven't tried our back office support out, you need to, and certainly reach out and talk to a sales director about that. In addition to that, one of the things that we've seen is technology grow over the last 18 months. And so I did want to make a point that we do integrate with Firelight on our website. And so you can log into our portal. You can see we've got a number of the major carriers out there on the annuity side, as well as on the life insurance side. And that's another thing to mention to you as well. We do integrate with iPipeline as well. So if you're wanting to do e-applications, you can simply go to our website, and any of the carriers that we work with can do an e-application right from there. In addition to that, our creative marketing solutions. And I'm going to launch our first poll, but one of the things that we've seen here over the last year is having to be a little bit more creative, especially going back to last year where you had, different places that were open, different places that weren't. One of the things that we've seen is that you've got to be a little bit more tactical. You've got to be a little bit more creative when it comes to your marketing. And so one of the processes that we've developed is our custom marketing analysis. And essentially what we do is we sit down with the advisor and we identify, what does your business look like? What are the marketing assets that you have? What do you want your business to look like? What are the target markets that you want to go after? And then we'll put together a customized marketing plan for you. And I think most advisors, what they're looking for in their business is balance. And there's really three components to balance. One is having a defined goal. Two is having a plan in place that you think is going to accomplish that. And then the third is the ability to modify that plan. And so that's a process that we'll work with you on. And right now is a great time to take advantage of that. We're going into the fourth quarter. So whether it's trying to figure out how do I really close the year out strong, or we want to start thinking about what we want next year to look like, it's a great process to go through, and it's completely complimentary. So I'm going to go ahead and get this closed out here, and then we'll keep on with the presentation. As I mentioned with the website, we've got a variety of resources on there. So whether it's doing an e-application, running life quotes, annuity quotes, one thing that I always mention is our sales resource library. There are literally hundreds of point of sale pieces on our website that you can instantly download. And it covers a wide range of topics, everything from life insurance or annuity basics, how does a 401k work, to loan regime and economic benefit split dollar and everything in between. So it's a great resource, whether you're meeting with people face to face or virtually. You can pretty much download any type of sales piece you're looking for right off of the site. In addition to that, have to mention software, Retirement Analyzer. One of the big questions, one of the big fears for consumers out there is, are they going to outlive their income in retirement? And one of the things that we always have to accomplish when we're running appointments is not only identifying what that need is, what that hot button is, but also articulating what the solution is in a simple and straightforward way to that consumer. And Retirement Analyzer is a great software platform that allows you to do that. That kind of acts like that crystal ball of, okay, if you didn't have enough money for retirement, when would you want to know? Now or when it's too late to do anything about it? And so you can actually get access to this absolutely free through IAMS. Just reach out, speak with a sales director, and they can chat with you a little bit about how you can get access to that. In addition to that, we do have an RIA, IAMS Wealth Management. We set that up a few years ago, and we've seen significant growth with it over the last few years. And right now is a great time. If you've thought about adding that to part of your practice, reach out, talk to Duncan or Charles and their team. They can talk to you about how they operate, how they work, what they can do to support your practice. But now's never been a better time to take a look at this than right now. In addition to that, we're very pleased to announce our Top Producer Summit. As you can see, that's going to be next year, end of August through September, first part of September. And qualification actually runs through June 30th of next year. And it really is going to be an experience of a lifetime. We're taking a Mediterranean cruise around the boot of Italy, everything concierge level. And so there's ample time to qualify for that right now. I would encourage you, if you have interest in that, want to know some more details, reach out, speak with the sales director over here, and they can help you with that. In addition to that, we also have our Escape to Paradise incentive trip that's going on. Qualification is going on right now. That'll be in March next year, but just an amazing trip. We're doing that in partnership with Athene, but golf, beach, you name it, good food. And we've still got here a few months to qualify for it. So if you've got questions on that, reach out, talk to a sales director over here, and they can certainly answer any questions that you have for it. In addition to that, one of the things that I would mention to everybody is make sure you like and follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. Every day, we've got different posts going out on a variety of topics. In fact, one of the things that we're pushing out right now is for that Escape to Paradise trip, we're going to have double production credits for it. So right now, if you're submitting a Athene business, you get 2 times production credit for that. It's $2 million total, but you can qualify for that for as low as $1 million of Athene production. So again, like and follow us on social media, and again, we've got a lot of good updates and information that we put out there on a daily basis. So with that, closing secrets from a $100 million producer. So with us today, I've got Reed Johnson, and I've had the pleasure of working with Reed for 10 years now. And what I can tell you is, not only do I consider him a friend, but it really has been amazing to see how he operates his business, how he's grown it, how he incorporates best practices, how even, when you look at the total production volumes that he does, and he is, at the top, he's always constantly going out and learning new things to incorporate into his practice. And so very pleased that he's taken some time with us today to, as I mentioned, kind of pull back the curtain a little bit and talk a little bit about what his business looks like and some of the things that he does that really makes an impact. So Reed, I appreciate you taking some time with us today, and I guess to get started, maybe if you could tell us a little bit more about your business.
Well, first off, Curtis, thanks for having me today. I appreciate you guys joining. Hopefully, I'll be able to give you a little bit of information to help you guys get going for this fourth quarter. Those look like some great trips. So, what my practice looks like right now is we're an RIA. Kind of to back up, we started off as an insurance-only business. We moved into the RIA space. Really focus on comprehensive wealth management planning, and that business comes from a variety of different sources of leads, and really we're just trying to continue to grow, help people out, and be a comprehensive wealth manager.
Absolutely. So you mentioned business comes from a variety of different ways. I know we always hear about you've got to have different spokes in your marketing wheel. So do you have one primary thing that you do when it comes to marketing, or do you have multiple marketing strategies that you incorporate?
Oh my goodness, it's definitely multiple. We used to be a one-trick pony years back, but as things change, we've had to adapt. Probably one of the biggest adaptations that we had to make was during COVID, right? We were meeting everybody live, and then we had to get into the virtual world, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on. But no, we have multiple marketing channels. We do seminars, we do webinars, we do college education type courses. A big piece of what we're doing is we do leads with educators and city employees, and build up a pretty good referral business as well. So I mean, there's a ton of different spokes in what we do.
Okay. Now, one question that I have, and at least, from my perspective, what I notice, because we've got, advisors all over the country. We've got advisors at different stages of their career. We've got advisors doing different types of marketing systems out there. When you're getting, let's say it's a workshop, or, it's live, or it's a virtual webinar or lead or what have you, do you work all of these prospects the same way, like as far as their entry point, or do you have different approaches based off of, where you're generating that prospect from?
Great question. First and foremost, I want to make sure that I point out, you need to make sure you have a process in whatever you do. I think that I would be not doing anybody a service letting you know. I mean, that's when we really learned, is that we had to have a process, but the process that we do for different type of appointments is different. So as an example, if we're doing a live seminar, or if we've done a webinar and somebody comes and does a first meeting based off of that, that process is going to be completely different than the process of somebody who, is a lead for whatever reason, whether it be a social security lead, or a tax lead, or a estate planning lead, whatever it is. The process is going to be a little bit different there, because I've bought a lead, or I've created a lead, and then when I sit in front of them, they don't know what I do. And I think that the biggest probably some of the learning curves that we had to learn was, when we first sit down with that person, when we have a lead, we want to jump in and find out if they have assets, right? Because that's how we get paid. But making sure that we sat down and took a little bit more time and created value, talked about, kind of gave them almost in a 5-minute paragraph, and give them a little bit of a sense of, what we're going to be talking about today. This is all about them, but want to make sure that they understand why we're there. Whether it be, if it's Social Security, I'm going to talk to them about, hey, these are the different reports that we can give you, and why it's important to get this information. Because if I just dive in and start asking them questions to try to get the finances, and I didn't give them any value of why they should give me that information, I'm really going uphill, and I'm not going to get all the information. So those appointments are definitely ran differently, depending on if it's something that they've seen me present for an hour versus I'm just going in there from a lead.
Okay, appreciate that. So, a big question I think everybody has and has been trying to sort out here over the last year and a half is, what adjustments have you made? I mean, up until last year, I would say most advisors predominantly were face-to-face appointments. That's what they ran. If they happen to run a virtual appointment, it probably was somebody an existing client who moved away, and they're doing a phone call, or maybe they're doing a virtual meeting. And advisors have had to start incorporating that into a significant portion of their business. Now, I think, right now, when you look at the marketplace is kind of more of a hybrid model, right? You know, advisors are getting back to face-to-face appointments, but virtual appointments are certainly a part of that. And so, you know, for you going through this journey, what adjustments were you able to, or did you feel like you had to make, and you know, what areas of opportunity did you identify as you started to go through that transition yourself?
We absolutely had to make adjustments. We were doing 100% live appointments. I mean, we did a few Zoom meetings, but we weren't even, it was really just for reviews for clients who lived out of state. We were awful for when COVID first started. I mean, it was like we didn't understand how to do the webinars correctly. We didn't understand how to do the meetings that we did get from those webinars correctly. And it took a process, because there's something to be said about when you're sitting in front of somebody live, the fact that they can see you, it's a live interaction. So there's a lot of things that we figured out over time, and it's simple things like making sure you have a good background. I can't tell you how many Zoom meetings I've done, the backgrounds of people that you know, like there might be dirty clothes in the back, or they just don't have a nice professional setup that makes them look, you know, the part of a financial advisor. So I would definitely ask yourself, what does your background look like? That makes a big difference. A second piece is the lighting. A little thing as much as lighting on your face. If you've done any web meetings, you'll know it's, you know, you have those clients that are sitting right behind blinds and the light's coming in and their face is completely dark. That, you know, it's psychologically been proved that dark light is mistrust. And so having a good lighting on your face, I think, is really important. But again, it goes to having a process and slowing down when you're on there, really smiling a lot, because I mean, think about it, it's tough. You're sitting there talking at a computer. It's nice when you can actually see them, but think about those people that might not have a webcam, because that's happening with us a lot. And so they can see you, which is really important, but you can't see them. And I think sometimes when you're talking at that computer, you're talking at a blank space, we can get displaced and not continue that energy. And so I think it's really important that you're smiling the entire time, and you're really listening to them, and let them know, hey, if I pause for a second, I'm going to be taking notes. And a big piece of what I will tell you, a secret sauce of what we do, is when we're doing a discovery or fact finding session with them, whatever you call it, is making sure that I take extra time to write down their words, because I'm going to be using that in those second meetings. But I think that the other thing that's important about virtual meetings is, especially if you're in a second meeting, a decision-making meeting, when we do live appointments, we have something called the walkaway, probably one of the most powerful things you can do. And what I mean by that is, like, if we're sitting at a table and we're meeting with them and it's decision time, and you know, they're kind of pausing there, say, hey, you know what, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go get a quick drink of water really quick. And that's by intention, right? That's letting them have the ability to talk without you in the room. And I will tell you, sometimes it's just as easy as the client going, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Yeah, we're good. And then you go back in and then they make the decision. That's a big piece. Well, when you do this virtually, it's a little bit different, right? Because you're on the computer. And so we do the virtual walk, what we call the virtual walkaway, which is basically we turn the camera off, put it on mute. You obviously can still hear them if they don't mute themselves, but it feels like they have privacy for a minute so that they can discuss. And a lot of times it's that same thing. How do you feel about things? Any questions? What do you want to do? And give them a minute or two. Say, hey, I'm gonna go get a drink of water, and then come back, turn your camera on mute, and say, and then go back to it. So just little things like that, lighting, making sure that you're smiling, giving them a second if you're in that second meeting to make decisions, talking slow and precisely, and making sure you write down exactly their words. Like, I think sometimes we paraphrase, oh, they're afraid of running out of money. No, it's, hey, I'm afraid of running out of money because my mother, you know, had to go to a nursing home and spend all her money and went on Medicaid. I mean, making sure that you incorporate everything they say is really important for those second meetings.
Okay. And then, you know, when we talk about a first appointment, I imagine that you've got, you know, before that first appointment, probably a follow-up process where you're sending out reminders. Is that process look any different if it's going to be a virtual appointment versus a live appointment, as far as how the reminders that you send out leading up to that?
Oh yeah, 100%. So yeah, so a seminar is so a seminar lead is going to be something that my team is going to basically we sometimes, depending on how many days are in between the appointment, it's going to, if like, let's say I scheduled a meeting and it's in 2 days, the follow-up processing is going to look something different from something that's maybe 7 to 10 days out. If they're 7 to 10 days out, there's going to be a few more touches than something that's in a couple of days. But my team's doing that, and we have a high retention. When it comes to leads, that's a little bit different. It depends on the lead source. Some of the lead sources we get are pre-scheduled appointments. We do not mess with those whatsoever, and that's by intention, because the more when you have one company creating a lead source for you, and then they schedule a meeting, and then another company calls behind and they're saying, hey, I'm just calling to confirm, that gets really confusing. And in a world where there's so much fraud and distrust right now, it gets, you got to be very careful about your planning. So again, just like your process should be different from a web meeting to a lead meeting, I think that your follow-up and confirmation process should be different as well.
Okay. And you mentioned distrust, right? It's tougher to build rapport, when you're just somebody on a computer screen versus they're live, face to face. And as we all know, if somebody's going to work with you, they've got to like you, they've got to trust you, they've got to feel like you're knowledgeable and can provide a solution to the challenges they have. And so, in your opinion, what would you say are some of the most important things you do to establish rapport when you're meeting with somebody initially?
Having a really, really good fact finder or discovery preloaded form is imperative. I mean, in this, the quality of the questions that you ask are really important, and when you ask those questions are really important as well. As an example, I remember 20 years ago when I first started doing this, it was just like getting right into the chase. What do you have? And we've really started talking about, like, what are your values? What's important to you about money? Why is that important? Really asking questions about them. And I remember the first time we changed those questions, the very first time I did it, the lady goes, wow, nobody's asking me those type of questions. And so we even let people know at the beginning, hey, I'm going to ask some questions that might be you might not have considered from a financial professional, but it's really important for us as a comprehensive, advisor to really get to know what's important to you. And by asking those quality of questions, it really puts them at ease when you're not just going right to the, meat and potatoes of what you're trying to establish. And I think by asking good quality of questions, some people are better at certain things in this industry, right? There's certain people that are better at life insurance, or some people are better at annuities, some people that are at financial planning. I think that the better quality of questions that you asked, I think that all of us, if you're specialized in one of those categories, and maybe not all of them, you'll find additional sales from those questions that you find. Because if you have a good fact finder, if you really understand the situation, at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is trying to find problems or concerns that they have, and then our job as that financial professional is to solve those problems. And if we don't ask good questions, you're going to run into objections in that second meeting, and you're not going to be able to use their words to overcome those objections. Because you can have the best objection overcomer in the world, but if you didn't really have the right objections and you didn't ask the right questions, then you're getting the false objections. So I think that's really important.
I agree with you, and so another question I have that came in from one of the agents on the call was about cross-selling. So when you're meeting with somebody initially, are you, let's say, because you deal with life insurance, you deal with annuities, you deal with securities, AUM. Are you trying to solve all those problems all at once, or are you identifying something that you're going to solve first, and then it's kind of a longer process of, we're going to address this first, and then once that's done, we're going to come back and do this? Can you give us a little bit of color on that?
Yeah, so 100% no. The more decisions a person has to make in a meeting, the less chance you're going to have of selling. So if you've done a good job in the fact finder, you're typically in that second meeting, you're going to know the low-hanging fruit, whether they have a variable annuity with really high fee expenses in there and not great investment options, or you're going to find something that they have a high, if you're an IAR and they have like 100% equities in their portfolio when they're conservative. I mean, you're going to want to go for that low hanging fruit. The way that we work at our firm is we sit down, we find, okay, maybe it's, hey, let's get the assets over here first so we can put a tax plan together, an income plan together. And then we're going to talk, by the way, we're going to have a 90-day advanced planning meeting after you come on board, and we're going to address those other holes that we found in your plan. But again, we're going to talk about those for later. And again, that makes people feel good too. It's like, oh, there's more than just this. You're not just going to get my assets and then I'm not going to hear from you again. And I think that, we have a little card that we sit down in the first meeting that shows, hey, here's our first meeting. This is what this is. This is a discovery meeting. Here's the things we're going to talk about today. Second meeting, here's what to expect. I'm going to give you some free reports, no expectations there. Either somewhere there or somewhere down the road, we might decide that we're a fit and we're going to work together. And by using that language, all of a sudden it makes that second appointment show up like, hey, I might not have to make a decision here. I'm going to get reports. They're not expecting me to make that decision. It takes that used car pressure off, salesman pressure off of that next appointment. So, and then we let them, know whether it's in the second meeting or a third meeting or somewhere down the road we decide to work together. Our process doesn't start. Our work doesn't stop. We have a 90-day advanced planning meeting where we basically, look at all the other things that we need to make sure, like tax planning and income planning and long-term care planning and estate planning that happens after that. And then we review this on an annual basis, and they really like that.
Yeah. So, and that actually, I guess, is a good segue to my next question, which is how you set that stage for the next meeting. Because I think, in the virtual space, you'll see advisors where they'll run a first appointment, they go to set that second appointment, and then maybe they get no-showed. But from what you were talking about before, it sounds like you're kind of at the very beginning talking about here is what the process looks like. So in any case, if you can kind of maybe expand on that a little bit more as far as how you set that stage and make sure they're there on that next meeting.
Yeah, so if they're not showing, second meetings for us are our highest percentage of show ratios, and regardless if it's a lead or if it comes from a seminar. Seminars, I would say 100% of those people are showing up to seconds if they're a fit for us, giving them additional reports, so if we can help them out. But for leads, again, it depends on how much value you created. We really are heavy in talking to them about different reports, whether it be a Social Security optimization report, a financial planning report. We use Money Guide Pro and Retirement Analyzer, so depends on the sophistication of the plan that we need to put together. And we really sell the value of those, and that they're free. There's no obligation. These are going to be things that they can take to their CPA, their existing advisor, and have really clear conversations with, and they really appreciate that. And I'll tell you, we just don't have an issue on people showing up for second meetings, but we let them know. One thing I wrote down when I saw this question you were going to ask was, I always leave a first meeting by letting them know, hey, you've done this really good, whatever it is. Everybody's done something well, whether they raised their kids well, whether they started retirement late, but at least they started. Whatever, planning for retirement late, you've got to leave it with a positive. And then, like, I cannot wait to get you these reports, because as well as you've done here, this is going to help you enhance what you've already done really well. And making that positive structure going into that second meeting is really important.
So really emphasizing whatever positives you can pull out of there at the end of that first appointment is a key component with what you do in setting that second then.
Oh, 100%.
Okay. So, when we're running these appointments, sometimes we're meeting with people where they don't have a lot of questions. Sometimes we're meeting with people that have a lot of questions. And one of the things that you've touched on a couple of different times over the course of this morning is having a defined process. So when you're meeting with somebody and you're getting a lot of different questions on a variety of different topics, how do you address those, but also making sure that you're pivoting and making sure that you're following kind of the process that you've set up and making sure that they understand the importance of a financial plan?
Yeah, so I'm going to pretense this with that I hated Social Security leads probably up until about 5-6 years ago. I was just like, I was like, man, these people are just trying to like get a report to know how to do this. And I sat down at a mastermind group and with now who's a really good friend of mine. Is like, man, my biggest appointments come from Social Security leads. And I was like, really? I go, yeah. And so I sat down with him and really kind of picked his brain on it. And I can tell you today, our biggest sales come from Social Security leads. And so this is a really important topic to understand, and understand how to position this when you're sitting down with a client. So the first thing that you need to understand about Social Security, when we're talking with folks, is that it was never designed to be a total replacement of your income. But there are still literally 100 different ways that you can file for Social Security, right? Different ages, different scenarios, and each person you sit down with has a certain time, place, situation, and reason why they should file the way they do. You really got to take a look at how long they're going to live. Are they married or single? Do they have a spousal benefit that they qualify for? Do they, what's their budget? What do their assets look like? And then the big piece about this is taxes. And I'm just very clear with folks. I'm like, if you don't use a financial planning software in conjunction with Social Security, this is why you're missing some big sales. Because when we sit down with folks, I can, with 100% certainty, show them one line how they're supposed to pull Social Security based on the financial plan. And so when I sit down with folks about this, I let them, and here's the big secret to this, is that I'm not going to tell you when to file until you tell me all the assets so I can go back to the office and put together a plan. And when I do that, they give me all their information, and I'll tell you, these are some of the easiest sales that I've gotten.
Okay. We had another question come in from one of the advisors, and it was actually on your seminars. And so it's kind of a two-part question. One was, what kind of venues are you doing live workshops in right now? I know there's a variety of options, whether it's library or restaurant or what have you. And then how frequently do you do them?
Both, everything. I've done colleges. We do college campuses, libraries, chamber of commerce, restaurants, and each one of my advisors will do anywhere from 2 to 3 nights a month.
Okay. All right. Appreciate you sharing that. On to the next question, and you kind of touched on this a little bit a couple of minutes ago, but obviously you place a high weight on planning software. So can you talk a little bit more about the platforms that you use and why you feel that's so important?
Yeah, so so I would say that probably the most any advisor on my team sold pre-planning software was probably about $7 to $8 million in a year. Post using planning software for every single case, including a second meeting or financial or annual review with old clients. My average advisor is probably doing 22 million. A good average advisor right now. So it's changed completely. So the planning software allows you to have a conversation, not just about, hey, we can manage your money better. If that's the conversation, that's a lose-lose, and you'll lose those clients down the road. When we first started our RIA, when I first started my RIA, I would tell you 50% or more of those clients we brought on in the first 2 years before we were using planning software were literally are not with us anymore. We have a 97% retention rate since using planning software. I mean, so if that's not enough to let you know the numbers, I mean, it really truly matters. Some people are visual, it's like, and we're never talking about like, hey, our investment management is better than this person's investment management. My conversation is like, hey, I think we're really good, but if you're working with a good investment manager, it's plus or minus 1%. If they're doing a really good job with asset diversification and making sure that they have your right risk tolerance in line. Where you really get additional return is by maximizing Social Security, reducing unnecessary taxes, and making sure that Uncle Sam's not an unknown beneficiary. And if you can use planning software to talk about those issues and really get them to buy into that, you're going to have tons of success, but you got to have the planning software. I also use Social Security Analyzer, which I know IAMS uses as well. And so there's a lot of great tools that are out there that I'd encourage you to talk to them about, because they've helped us with a lot of these planning processes with life insurance and solving for these with software and plans.
Okay. Another question that we had come in from one of the agents is, do you charge for the plan? Do you charge a client to get the reports?
I do not. No. We've thought about it in our ADV. We have the ability to charge for it, but we haven't done it. I feel like if I've done a good job in the fact finding mission, and if I decided to schedule a second meeting for them, I thought there was a good enough opportunity with how much value we bring to them to basically have them come in, and it was worth my time to build the plan.
Okay.
Now, I'm
So
going to be Curtis, really quick on that.
yeah.
I'm not, when I build that financial plan, I don't go into the weeds like into it, right? I'm doing enough to show them problems. Maybe it's a problem of, hey, if you don't do, here's your tax problem if you don't do a Roth conversion, or if you live too long, you're going to run out of money, or if one spouse passes away too early, you need life insurance. I mean, those are going to be I'm really going to find something in the plan, but I'm not going to put in their whole budget and and the things they want and wish. And, I'm just going to give enough to show some problems in there and say, look, when you become a client, we're going to really fill this out. And this is going to be what we're going to monitor your account. And one last thing on the plan, guys, is when we're doing the annual reviews, that's 100% of what we're talking about. We're not talking about returns ever. We're talking about, are they on course to make their retirement goals happen, or do we need to make any changes? And it's never about, hey, Reed, I don't like my returns this year. And before we used plans, it was returns. It was awful. So planning is really important.
Okay. And then we had a couple more questions that came in, and I think it's just make sure everybody's on the same page. As far as software platforms that you're using, you mentioned Social Security Analyzer, you've mentioned Retirement
Yep.
Analyzer, and then I think you
Yep.
mentioned, was it Money Guide Pro is the other platform that you
Money Guy.
use?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So Social Security Analyzer is a great report. Now remember, that's not going to solve the problem. That's going to show them that you did work. You're going to have to take that Social Security Analyzer and then link that into either Money Guide Pro or Retirement Analyzer to show them why you create value. Because when somebody gets one of those Social Security reports from Social Security Analyzer, it shows them, hey, here's your break-even point. If you live this long, here's how much more money you're going to get. That doesn't tell somebody very much. And I actually sell against people that only give that report. So I take that report to say, look, if I look at just this on the surface, this is the one you should take Social Security. Now let's take a look at if you take Social Security here, and if taxes go up or if inflation goes up, and now all of a sudden maybe taking that Social Security at this age didn't make sense. Maybe it makes sense to take it at 62 versus 66. But you've got to be good with the financial planning software, and I can show those scenarios, and I can change it in like 2 minutes now because I've gotten so good at it, where I can show that, and they're like, man, nobody's ever showed this before. So for really simple cases, like somebody maybe with 300,000 or less, maybe 500,000 or less, I'll use Retirement Analyzer. For people who have more sophisticated planning needs, I'll use Money Guide Pro.
Okay. And then I know over the course of this year, I think one of the newer software platforms that I know a lot of your agents have started to incorporate is that Stonewood platform for the IUL sales as well. I know that they've
Oh, yes.
been having us run designs on that, and that comes in, I think, really handy when you're getting into that tax discussion, right? Are taxes going up? Are they staying the same? And how should we tax diversify or not?
100%. Yeah, I mean, because again, the more questions that you can have them have, or concerns that you can bring up, the easier it's going to be for you to produce a solution and help them out.
Yep. So the last question I had, and I know this is a good chunk of your business, and we've had a lot of advisors here over the last year and a half where they've started to look and work in that, the educator space, whether it's K through 12, colleges and universities, the state and municipal employees, agents looking at, federal appointments as well. But you've run a ton of these over the course of your career. When you're running these virtual appointments like this with educators or state municipal employees, what would you say are, maybe the three biggest things that you need to be thinking about if you're going to do these?
Yeah, before I get into the three things that are important, I'm gonna tell you the value of what this has brought to our firm. And the first thing is, is it's allowed us to get in front of people who don't typically go to seminars. So like we're getting in with people that don't go to our traditional marketing sources, right? From these leads that we're creating. And basically what happens is we're sitting down with this educator and talking to them about their account, but more importantly, we're letting them know, hey, your benefits should really coordinate with your spouse's benefits. Let's have a meeting with the actual spouse, whether that be the husband, the wife, the educator. Some of our biggest clients, like Social Security, come from this space because now we're all of a sudden educating the spouse, and maybe the educators for the city employee spouse works at, as an engineer, or I've had one that actually owned a oil and gas company before, and so some of the big clients we've brought on have been through educating this person about how their pension works. So the three things you need to know is, number one, how does their pension work? That's really important. And along with their pension, how much are they paying into it versus how much the pension company is paying into it? Number two, you want to make sure that you understand how are they paying into Social Security benefits, right? Because some city and municipalities pay into Social Security along with a pension, or certain education systems will pay into Social Security, but others won't. And so depending on if they don't pay into it, the third thing that you're going to need to know is the windfall elimination and how that affects them. Because when you can educate these people who have a pension on how their financial plan works, and then you're talking to them about, hey, look, one of the things we need to do is a planning session like we talked about, and showing you how to coordinate these benefits and maximize Social Security if you qualify for it, or how to coordinate those benefits with your spouse. When can we set up a meeting for your spouse to go through the whole plan together? And that's where we get a lot of our big sales from, is by meeting with these city employees and educators as well. But I will tell you, really important, guys, when you're working leads, a lead is a lead, right? Sometimes I think people think when you're on a lead program, whatever it is, because I've bought life insurance leads, we have educator leads, those people are not ready to just go buy from you. There was something that they wanted. So for an educator, as an example, we might say, hey, you want to understand how your Social Security coordinates with your employee benefits, right? I love those type of leads. I just told you earlier, Social Security is one of my favorite things, because this is going to be a way for me to, if I've presented it correctly, to let them know that they're 100% going to have to give me all of the information so I can show them how to maximize those benefits. So again, it's what you do with that lead when you get there, and I think it all starts from the very beginning. Is what did you do to present value? What reports did you let them know that they're going to get, and why they should give you the information? So that's how we use those, and then we've had a lot of success.
Okay. And so I'm gonna launch our final poll today here. So I'll get this up here. But one of the things, Reed, that you've agreed to do is you've got obviously a variety of things that you're doing from a marketing standpoint. And one of the things that you agreed to is in that educator space, in that state municipal employee space. If an agent wants to be able to run some of the same appointments that you do, they can actually get access to that through you. And not only can they get access to that, but without an upfront cost. And so I'm putting up a poll question here. If you'd like to get some more information on that, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about it, you can speak with one of the sales directors here, and we can certainly help you with that. And so I'll keep that up here for a minute, but one of the, as far as core themes over the course of this morning, I've heard you mention process multiple times, and having not just one process, but multiple processes, depending on where you have a prospect coming from, as well as that sales process when you're meeting with people. Another key point that that you've mentioned a couple times is asking good questions. And actually, I guess that's a good question too. I mean, in your opinion, when you're meeting with somebody, you're asking questions and you're making statements. I mean, do you feel like one's more powerful over the other?
No, that's a tough question. To kind of elaborate on that, I had an advisor when I was training him sit with me a couple of years ago, And he said on a second meeting, first meeting, second meeting, I asked like 63 questions in the second meeting. A lot of those questions are rhetorical. A lot of those questions are designed to find out if they're following with me. And it's not just what they say, it's their body language as well. Like sometimes when I'm sitting across from somebody and if I see them kind of roll their eyes up into the left, I know that they're looking for an answer. And then sometimes if they're like kind of, squinting their eyes, you know that they're confused. So it's really important as you're going through a process and asking these questions to read those body language. That's important. I think it's important to ask questions about I love asking the question, how would you rate your current advisor? And then I love asking the question, why, tell me why you rated them that way. Not like, what could they do to be better? But I want to learn more about the objections. Other questions that I like asking, again, I talked about value money. What are some of the things you want to accomplish going forward in life? I think is a really good question. Again, you're going to get the money stuff if you've got enough questions. Who's the money going to go to? Understanding if do they want them to get the money immediately? Do they want the money to go in a different way? Then and then when you find out what they've actually done and you can put a list of problems together, then all of a sudden you can have the objection list already put together. You know what they're going to say. Hey, I got to think about it. Well, hey, you told me you were concerned about this, this, and this. If you don't make a change on this, and again, using their words, what are you going to do? And not just tell them what they need to do, what the problem is. Start to get them to critically think through, hey, if this happens. Right now, one of my favorite things to tell a client when it is actually true is, hey, right now, you won the retirement game. If you lose 20, 30, 40% of this plan doesn't work anymore. What are you going to do if that happens? Those are the type of questions that I think are really important to get them to critical think, which will allow you to really take those objections out of the corner and start getting wins. And then the close, guys, is just, do you want me to help you fix this? I mean, that's it. I mean, if you've done a good job, enough job on the fact finding, if you've used their words throughout your process and then ask them if you want them to help you fix it, it's almost always yes, or before I've even asked that question, they're like, well, what's the next step if you've done it?
Yeah, I've noticed probably 3 or 4 times here you've referenced using their own words. So you obviously place a high weight on taking notes about what they're saying and incorporating that in the process going forward.
Yeah, because I think that I used to just assume, hey, we're going to make a better return, and that's not important to some people. Making sure that you incorporate what they talked about, their concerns, why they came in, what they're trying to accomplish, whether that be a lead or a seminar or whatever type of appointment you're in. It's very, very important that you slow down and take very, very good notes.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this last poll down. Reed, as always, a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge. I really appreciate you taking some time with us today. For everybody on the call today, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day. I know we covered a lot of really good best practices in a short period of time. So I do want to mention to everybody that we are recording this. We are going to have this available a little bit later today if you want to go in and take some additional notes. And as I mentioned earlier, we've got a great opportunity with Reed and his team to be able to tap into some of the lead generation services that they offer as well. So certainly we'll have our sales directors reach out to you, and I hope everybody has a great Friday. So thank you.
Thanks.